Greetings. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of an exciting new feature coming from Midi Designer Pro 2, the ability to show hide panels under button control. So let's just dig right in and use an example layout to show you what's going on. I've been doing a lot of coding for the Jupe X and XM recently, and there are several sets of information that can live in two different locations, or maybe even more, inside the board, and so you've got to have two different sets of controls depending on where the information is, such as your controls. You have sliders, buttons, wheels, that sort of stuff, and they either can have a global setting in the system, or you can bring in an individual setting in the scene. And so if you want to be able to control those, let's load what we've got loaded right now just to show you what happens. So this shows that we're using a scene set up for the sliders all across here, and for the buttons, and for the control sources. And if we had a Jupiter X, the information would be shown here. And you swap back and forth by using these buttons here between the upper and lower pickers, and it shows you which one it is. But you have a little bit of visual pollution because you have this unused information that has no current value being shown. So let's show what we get now with the latest update. So this is all that same information. Now it's on one single page instead of across two pages. And now we see our sliders are all set on system, and now our buttons swap back and forth. The picker that we're not using is hidden, and we use the color code to remind throughout the layout. Blue is a system and green is the scene. And here we have that missing X controls here, the X wheels either on system or scene information. Okay, so that's pretty good when we have two locations, but there's another case in the Jupiter X, XM, where information can actually live in three different locations. So this is my current production layout right now for your effects summary. And an effect for a part can live as part of the scene, and that is shown in this column. If you have a ZEN-Core tone loaded, it can live as part of the ZEN-Core tone, which would be in this column. And then I don't have it shown as if there's an analog synth model. I'd have to have a third column of controls to actually control that. And we do the same thing here. We swap back and forth. But once again, we use a lot of real estate we don't need to use. We have information showing we don't need. And we're missing some information we actually need. So let's go take a look at the upgraded version here. Let's do a load in this case. Okay. So in this case now we see we actually do have the analog synth model information loaded. And just to show it is following along, let's go into the scene here and just go over and edit that. So we have a mod delay. As we adjust it here, you see it follows right along. If we switch it on and off, it's following fine with us. Okay, this shows it's a part set up in part 2. So let's go back over to the part information. I've gone past it. There it is. Okay, and so in this case, once again, I can change the effect here, but actually then I can even switch here, whether it's the part or the tone information. And you see it follows right along. So let's just go to another scene and give one more example of that. Let's go to this one here, and we'll load those things. Where did my mouse go? Okay. That's not perfect. In this case, I actually have a split colors here. It's hard to get all the logic running right, and because this blue button is shown, it's not highlighted, it's telling you that the ZEN-Core is actually the one active. So we have to manually go pick up those buttons. Maybe I'll eventually figure out some logic that does that. But that shows the simplicity you get with this new feature. You see, we only have the one set of controls. As we select back and forth, it will bring up the control that is effective for us. Just a couple notes for the developers. It can be just a touch of a challenge because you do have everything stacked up now. So a blank page is your friend. Unstack everything and get it, build it so it works. And then once you have the different show hide functions working, only then stack it up into the final layout. That'll save whatever your hair you have left. So here's a second developer note. This is a screenshot I took as I was building the layout we've walked through. And just a couple notes here. There's 3 different sets of controls stacked here, and these are the 3 buttons that control them. This knob here groups those 3 buttons, so only one of them can be active at, this, as a super control set. That also then drives this first button as a sub-control, which is the control for show hide the ZEN-Core, but now we need the inverted logic to show hide the other button. So then we have the second button here, which is then doing the show hide, which is inverted. So you sort of have a super control chain driving down through here. And the final thing is even that you may need to make sure that last button in your super control chain has a null value. You don't want it to be spinning a continuous controller that might be affecting something else in your layout. So I've just assigned them a null sysx control. Finally, I'd like to give a big shout out to Dan and the gang at Confusion Studios who've been working so hard to keep Midi Designer Pro up to date and just stay up with the latest developments in the iOS. Thanks, Dan and the